What does UK law say? But having said that, anonymity is very important, not just for protecting privacy sometimes, but also to let people speak freely online, especially if they're saying unpopular things.
I think that anonymity can be very important for free speech. This has always been the case. And again, the same principle applies online as offline. I should be able to call myself Liberty Bell and write a fashion blog and have nobody know who I am. However, if I start inciting violence via that blog, I think it's perfectly proportionate that the authorities might like to strip away my alias and find out who the criminal really is.
The question of the kind of data which you give to companies like Facebook and how much of it they can keep and for how long is one which I think a lot of people don't really think enough about. Because I don't know about you, but even as a lawyer, when I get that terms and conditions bit and I just tick the OK box, I don't read everything through, and if I do, I might not understand it.
You absolutely have a right to privacy, but whether you have a right to mask who you are online, I'm not so sure.
We all absolutely have a right to be anonymous online. Going on the internet means that when you join our online community, you don't necessarily have to know who you are.
I do think we have a right to be anonymous online. I think it's incredibly important. And although some people will abuse that freedom, I don't think that the answer to people abusing it is to take the freedom away from everyone.
When you study history in school, you discover people finding facts out about ancient kings. Those things are remembered today because the person who was the subject was very famous and very notable. Now today, you are that king, you are that queen, and everything you do is going to leave digital traces.
There's this whole debate at the moment about right to be forgotten. This is the idea that you should be able to get rid of your record. But I think our digital footprint sort of stays with us, and whilst we can kind of make some decisions to get rid of things, especially if things are inaccurate, the idea of being able to get rid of pictures of yourself dancing on a table because you find them slightly embarrassing, I don't know, maybe you shouldn't have put them up in the first place.
I find the right to be forgotten troubling. The reality is that this is going to not be used by individual people so much as it's going to be used by corporations trying to hide shady dealings.
I personally think that as the internet grows bigger and bigger, this should be an option that should be provided to people.
It's a nice idea, but it's probably not one that's ever going to happen.
Companies like Facebook and Google make a lot of money out of keeping our data. That's how they try to show you targeted adverts. So on the one hand, it's important for them. That's how they can provide all those services for free. At the same time, UK and European law say you do have privacy rights, that if you leave, if you close your account, they have to get rid of it.
One of the debates that has gone on has been about the retention of metadata, the information that the service provider uses in order to connect the service for you. And I think it's inappropriate for a service provider to keep that metadata beyond the scope of delivering the service to you. They should forget it as soon as possible.
If they're providing a service for free, then they're going to want something from you. So I think probably it's the case of educating people on the fact that there's no such thing as a free lunch. Unless we want to outlaw it and say everyone has to pay for social media. Personally, I quite like having free social media, and it's a sacrifice I'm prepared to make.
I think that we all need to be a little bit more informed about our relationship with social media providers like Facebook. I think we ought to be a bit more demanding and insist on less retention, at least know how much retention there is.
Obviously, there are also concerns if they lose that data, if they get rid of that data, and for any reason you want to track somebody that's done something bad on the internet, then you can't.
When you've got a generation who's just used to having their data being harvested, I imagine that that's just going to become the norm.
But actually, I think having a right to your own data is a really fundamental principle.
there's really no difference between your online privacy and your offline privacy. So just in the same way that the police wouldn't be allowed to go around to your house, knock on the door, come in, go through all of your stuff, take it away and hold on to it for as long as they like to see